You look for the enemy in the shadows. You scan the horizon for the rival who wants to take your business. You prepare your defenses for the competitor who wants to steal your market share. You build walls to keep out the strangers who wish you harm. You are looking in the wrong direction. The enemy who will destroy you is not climbing over the wall. The enemy who will destroy you already has the keys to the gate. They are sitting at your dinner table. They are in your group chat. They are the person you text when you have good news and the person you call when you are broken. History is not written by the enemies who storm the gates. History is written by the friends who open them from the inside. Julius Caesar was not murdered by a barbarian horde. He was murdered by Brutus, his most trusted ally. The most famous betrayal in human history was not executed with a sword. It was executed with a kiss. This is the Judas Kiss. It is the ultimate act of psychological warfare. It is the destruction of an empire, orchestrated not through force, but through the exploitation of intimacy. You believe that loyalty is a baseline human trait. You believe that because you are a good friend, you will receive good friends in return. You believe that shared history equals shared allegiance. This naivety makes you soft. It makes you blind. And in the brutal game of power, the blind are always slaughtered. The warlord does not believe in unconditional loyalty. The warlord understands that loyalty is a daily negotiation. The warlord knows that every person in their inner circle is capable of betrayal if the conditions are right, if the envy is deep enough, and if the opportunity is lucrative enough. Today, we are going to teach you the dark science of counter-espionage. We are going to teach you how to spot the Judas Kiss before the lips ever touch your cheek. We will deconstruct the psychology of the fake friend, outline the 5 archetypes of the traitor, and give you the exact behavioral test to flush out the spies in your camp. You are going to learn how to prune your inner circle with the cold, detached precision of a surgeon. Welcome to the Art of Conquest. Part 1. The Illusion of Proximity. To understand betrayal, you must first dismantle your romanticized view of friendship. What is a friend to the average person? The amateur defines a friend by proximity and shared history. We went to high school together. We work in the same department. We drink at the same bar. The amateur believes that because they have spent 1,000 hours in the presence of someone, that person is an ally. Proximity is not loyalty. Habit is not allegiance. Just because a parasite attaches itself to a host for 10 years does not mean the parasite loves the host. It simply means the parasite enjoys the blood. The warlord defines a friend by a completely different metric, the alignment of agendas under duress. A true ally is someone whose long-term survival and prosperity are directly tied to your own, and who has proven their willingness to sacrifice their own comfort to protect your flank when the bullets start flying. Everyone else is an acquaintance. Everyone else is a variable. Why do people betray? You want to believe that betrayal is the result of cartoonish evil. You want to believe that a traitor sits in a dark room, rubbing their hands together, plotting your demise. This is rarely true. Betrayal is usually the result of a slow, corrosive psychological process. It is born from a cocktail of opportunism, cowardice, and envy. When you start to rise, when you build the business, when you improve your physique, when you elevate your status, you disrupt the social hierarchy of your friend group. People are comfortable with you when you are on their level. You validate their life choices. But when you ascend, your success becomes a mirror. And when they look in that mirror, they do not see your glory. They see their own failure. They see their own laziness. They see their own unfulfilled potential. Your light casts a shadow on them. And human beings will do terrible things to escape their own shadow. They will not consciously decide to destroy you. Their subconscious will simply begin to reframe you. They will start to tell themselves that you have changed, that you are arrogant, that you do not deserve what you have. Once they convince themselves that you are unworthy, betraying you is no longer a sin. It is an act of justice. Sun Tzu says, "It is a military axiom not to advance uphill against the enemy, nor to oppose him when he comes downhill." The fake friend will never attack you head-on when you are strong. They will wait until you are distracted. They will wait until you are vulnerable. They will smile, they will applaud, and they will wait for the perfect moment to slip the knife in. You must learn to see the knife before it is drawn. Part 2. The 5 Archetypes of the Judas. Traitors do not wear uniforms, but they do operate on predictable psychological algorithms. To identify them, you must learn to recognize the 5 archetypes of the fake friend. Archetype 1, the sycophant, the hype man. This is the most dangerous archetype because they feel like an ally. They agree with everything you say. They laugh the loudest at your jokes. They tell you that you are a genius, that your enemies are stupid, and that you can do no wrong. The amateur loves the sycophant because the amateur's ego is starved for validation. The warlord despises the sycophant. Why? Because someone who never disagrees with you has no core identity. They are mirroring you to extract resources, status, or protection. They are feeding you sugar to make you fat, lazy, and blind. When a real crisis hits, and you need someone to tell you the hard, ugly truth to save your empire, the sycophant will lie to your face to keep you comfortable, right up until the moment your ship sinks. And then, they will seamlessly attach themselves to the captain of the next ship. Beware the person who has never offended you with the truth. Archetype 2, the competitor, the frenemy. This is the person who treats your relationship like a zero-sum game. If you buy a new car, they buy a slightly more expensive car a month later. If you announce a promotion, they immediately change the subject to their own recent achievement. They disguise this as pushing each other to be better. It is not. It is pathological envy. They cannot celebrate your victories. When you tell them good news, watch their face. You will see a micro-expression of pain, a tightening of the jaw, or a forced hollow smile. They will subtly undermine you in public. They will use the just kidding frame. They will tell an embarrassing story about you in front of people you are trying to impress, and then say, "Oh, I'm just messing with you, man." They are not messing with you. They are conducting a surgical strike on your status. The competitor is waiting for you to fail so they can finally feel superior. Archetype 3, the energy vampire, the professional victim. This person does not want to defeat you, they want to consume you. Their life is a perpetual crisis. Every week is a new tragedy, a new breakup, a new financial disaster, a new conflict at work. They use you as an emotional dumping ground. They call you at 2 a.m. to complain. The amateur listens because the amateur wants to be a good person. The warlord sees this for what it is, a resource extraction. The vampire demands your time, your empathy, and your emotional bandwidth. But when you are in trouble, they are magically unavailable. The betrayal of the vampire is the betrayal of abandonment. They will drain your war chest of all its energy, and when you are bleeding out on the battlefield, they will step over your body to find a new host. Archetype 4, the information broker, the gossip. This friend builds intimacy by telling you other people's secrets. They come to you and say, "You will not believe what John did." They trade in the currency of whispers. The amateur feels special. Wow, they trust me enough to tell me this. The warlord understands the iron law of the broker. He who gossips to you will gossip about you. If they are willing to betray John's trust to buy favor with you, they will absolutely betray your trust to buy favor with someone of higher status. The broker is a security leak. They are a vulnerability in your fortress. Anything you say to them will eventually be used as ammunition against you. Archetype 5, the fair weather savior. This friend loves you when you are winning. They love to be seen with you at the VIP table. They love to name drop you, but their loyalty is tied strictly to your utility. The moment you face a scandal, a financial loss, or a drop in status, they disappear. They stop answering texts. They are super busy right now. They are not malicious, they are just cowards. But cowardice in a friend is just as lethal as malice. If a soldier drops their shield and runs away when the enemy charges, the soldier next to them dies. Part 3, the leak of treason, spotting the micro-betrayals. A massive betrayal, stealing your money, sleeping with your partner, ruining your reputation, never happens in a vacuum. It is the final step in a long sequence of microscopic boundary violations. The traitor tests the fence before they break through it. You must train your eyes to see the micro-betrayals. 1. The public disavowal. You are in a group setting. You state an opinion or tell a story. Someone in the group challenges you disrespectfully. What does your friend do? Do they back you up? Do they stay silent? Or do they side with the challenger, perhaps making a light joke at your expense to win the approval of the room? If they sacrifice you to buy social points with strangers, they have failed the test. They have shown that their status in the room is more important than their loyalty to you. 2. The asymmetrical sacrifice. Look at the ledger of inconvenience. Friendship requires logistical sacrifice. Helping someone move, picking them up from the airport, loaning them a tool. Look objectively at the past 2 years. How many times have you inconvenienced yourself for them? How many times have they inconvenienced themselves for you? If you are the only one carrying the weight, you are not in a friendship, you are in a sponsorship. 3. The dismissal of your boundaries. You tell your friend, please do not bring up my ex tonight, it stresses me out. An hour later, after 2 drinks, they bring up your ex. When you get angry, they say, oh, relax, I was just making conversation. Don't be so sensitive. The amateur forgives this as clumsiness. The warlord categorizes this as a deliberate reconnaissance mission. The fake friend is testing your perimeter. They are seeing what happens when they violate a direct command. If you let it slide, you have taught them that your boundaries are made of paper. If they will violate a small boundary for a cheap laugh, they will violate a massive boundary for a payout. 4. The selective amnesia. When you do them a massive favor, they are deeply grateful in the moment. I owe you my life. But 3 months later, when you ask for a minor favor in return, they act as if the debt never existed. They manufacture an excuse. They suffer from selective amnesia. They remember everything you owe them and nothing they owe you. Part 4. The barium meal, spycraft and extraction tests. You cannot wait for a betrayal to happen to find out who is loyal. That is a reactive strategy. The warlord is proactive. You must test the structural integrity of your inner circle. In the intelligence community, they use a technique called the barium meal or a canary trap. You feed suspected leaks a unique piece of false information and wait to see if it appears in the wild. You must run these tests on your friends. Test 1. The barium meal, the secret trap. You suspect someone as a gossip. Do not accuse them. Test them. You pull them aside, lower your voice, and swear them to absolute secrecy. Listen, I need to tell someone this, but you cannot tell a soul. I'm thinking about leaving my company to start a rival firm. It's highly confidential. This information must be entirely false, but highly juicy. Then you wait. If 2 weeks later, an acquaintance asks you, hey, I heard you might be starting your own firm, you have your answer. The trap has snapped shut. The canary is dead. You now know with absolute empirical certainty that this person is a liability. You do not confront them. You simply strip them of their security clearance. They are now an outsider. Test 2. The vulnerability drop. The fake friend feeds on your success, but they rejoice in your pain. To test a frenemy, tell them about a failure. Man, I really messed up the pitch today. I think I might lose the account. Watch their physical reaction. The amateur thinks they will laugh. They won't. They will put on a face of deep concern. But look at their eyes. Look at their underlying energy. Do they seem strangely energized by your failure? Do they offer hollow platitudes like, well, everything happens for a reason, while subtly leaning into the details of your defeat? Do they seem to enjoy discussing your misery a little too much? A true ally feels your pain as their own. They get angry on your behalf. They immediately pivot to solutions. How do we fix this? What's the next move? A traitor revels in the tragedy because it equalizes the status gap. Test 3, the spotlight test. This is the inverse of the vulnerability drop. Tell them about a massive, unexpected success. I just closed the biggest deal of my life. It's going to double my income. A true ally will light up. Their joy will be spontaneous and uncalculated. The Judas will glitch. There will be a microsecond delay before they smile. Their smile will not reach their eyes. They will say, congratulations, but their voice will be flat. And within 60 seconds, they will attempt to minimize the achievement. That's great, man. Just make sure you watch out for the taxes on that. Awesome. It's crazy how lucky you've been this year. The word lucky is the weapon of the envious. It is their way of stealing your agency and attributing your hard work to random chance. Part 5. The psychology of envy, the root of the rot. To truly master this realm, you must understand the dark psychology of envy. Envy is not jealousy. Jealousy is, I want what you have. I want a nice car too. Envy is, I want to destroy what you have, because the fact that you have it makes me feel inadequate. I want to key your nice car. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer noted that envy is the most wretched of all emotions, because it is the only one that does not even provide the sufferer with a fleeting moment of pleasure. It is pure internal acid. When you improve your life, you violate the unwritten social contract of mediocrity. Most people live lives of quiet desperation. They cope with their misery by looking around and seeing that their friends are also miserable. We are all in this together. When you break out of the crab bucket, when you start making money, getting in shape, building an empire, you destroy their coping mechanism. You prove that escape is possible. You prove that their mediocrity is a choice. This realization is agonizing. They have two options to relieve the agony. Option A, they can elevate themselves to meet your standard. This requires immense hard work, discipline, and facing their fears. Option B, they can drag you back down to the mud. This requires only a few whispers, a betrayal, or a psychological sabotage. Human nature defaults to the path of least resistance. They will choose option B. This is why your oldest friends are often the most dangerous. They knew you when you were weak. They knew you when you were a loser. They felt safe with that version of you. The new powerful version of you is an alien entity. They do not want the warlord to succeed. They want the old loser to come back. You must accept a brutal truth. Your growth will cost you relationships. If you are not losing friends as you ascend, you are not ascending fast enough. Part 6. The tactical amputation, cutting the cord. You have run the tests. You have read the micro-expressions. You have identified the Judas in your ranks. What is your next move? The amateur experiences a rush of emotion. The amateur feels heartbroken, furious, and betrayed. The amateur calls the traitor, screams at them, demands an explanation, and engages in a massive, dramatic confrontation. This is exactly what the Judas wants. A dramatic confrontation gives them a stage. It allows them to twist your words, gaslight you, and play the victim. They will go to your mutual friends and say, "He went crazy. He attacked me for no reason. He's changed." You hand them the narrative victory. The warlord does not do drama. The warlord executes a tactical amputation. When a surgeon finds a gangrenous limb, the surgeon does not yell at the limb. The surgeon does not ask the limb why it became infected. The surgeon simply cuts it off and throws it in the incinerator to save the body. Protocol 1. The gray rock demotion. You do not announce the end of the friendship. You simply stop investing energy. You become a gray rock, boring, unresponsive, and emotionally flat. When they text you, you take 24 hours to reply, and you reply with 2 words. Busy week. When they try to engage you in gossip, you offer nothing. I haven't really been paying attention to that. You withdraw the supply. The Judas thrives on emotional reactions. When you give them a flat line, they lose interest. They will eventually drift away to find an easier host. You execute the exit without firing a single shot. Protocol 2, compartmentalization, the double agent. Sometimes you cannot simply cut the person off. Perhaps they are a coworker, a family member, or a business partner. In this case, you must compartmentalize them. You change their clearance level. You treat them with absolute impeccable politeness. You are friendly, you smile, you talk about sports and the weather. But you give them zero access to your actual command center. You tell them nothing about your finances, your relationships, your fears, or your strategic plans. Sun Tzu says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Why? So you can monitor them. If you know someone is a gossip, you can use them as a megaphone. When you want a specific piece of information to reach your competitors, you accidentally let it slip to the Judas. You use their treachery as a tool for your own misinformation campaigns. You turn a liability into an asset simply by understanding the nature of the machine. Protocol 3, the golden bridge of exit. We have discussed this in previous modules. When you must sever a relationship entirely, do not corner them. Give them an excuse that saves their ego. My new business venture is consuming 100% of my bandwidth right now. I don't have the time to be a good friend to anyone. I need to go dark for the foreseeable future. You take the blame. You frame yourself as unavailable. The Judas accepts this because it doesn't threaten their ego. They walk away quietly. You secure your perimeter. Part 7, the inner circle, building the phalanx. If most people are capable of betrayal, how do you build an inner circle? How do you avoid total paranoia and isolation? The warlord does not trust blindly, but the warlord is not a hermit. An empire requires generals. You must build a phalanx. In ancient Sparta, the phalanx was a military formation where each soldier stood shoulder to shoulder, their shields overlapping. Your shield did not just protect you, it protected the man to your left. If one man dropped his shield, the entire formation could be slaughtered. To gain entry into the warlord's phalanx, a person must pass rigorous criteria. 1. The criterion of shared mission. Do not build your circle around shared hobbies. Hobbies change. Build your circle around shared direction. If your mission is financial conquest, surround yourself with builders. If your mission is physical mastery, surround yourself with athletes. When your agendas are aligned, betrayal becomes illogical. If they hurt you, they hurt the mission, which hurts them. You want allies who are mathematically incentivized to see you win. 2. The criterion of stoicism. Do they control their emotions, or do their emotions control them? A highly emotional, reactive person is a guaranteed security risk. Even if they love you, their inability to regulate their nervous system means that in a moment of anger, panic, or jealousy, they will burn the house down. Only allow people into your inner circle who have demonstrated the ability to suffer in silence and execute under pressure. 3. The criterion of the trench history. Never grant full trust based on words. Trust is earned through blood, sweat, and time in the trenches. Have they lost money with you and stayed loyal? Have they been attacked publicly and refused to throw you to the wolves? Until a person has been given a profitable opportunity to betray you and actively chosen to decline it, their loyalty is unverified. It is theoretical. When you find the rare individuals who pass these tests, you bind them to you with unbreakable chains of mutual value, respect, and terrifying loyalty. You treat them like royalty. You share the spoils of war with them, but your circle will be small. A true warlord has many acquaintances, dozens of strategic allies, and perhaps 2 or 3 true friends. Quality over quantity. A fortress with 3 iron doors is infinitely stronger than a fortress with 50 wooden ones. Part 8. The warlord's peace, internal alchemy. We must address the internal damage that betrayal causes. When you are betrayed by a Judas, your worldview is shattered. You feel foolish. You feel a profound, aching pain in your chest. You question your own judgment. How did I not see it? You must process this pain, but you must not let it make you brittle. The amateur who is betrayed becomes cynical. They become bitter. They decide that all humans are trash, and they vow never to trust anyone again. This is a weakness. Cynicism is the armor of the coward. It is a lazy way to interact with the world. The warlord undergoes internal alchemy. The warlord accepts betrayal as a fundamental law of physics. It rains. Gravity pulls things down. And human beings under enough pressure or temptation will act in their own self-interest. When you accept this as a mathematical reality, betrayal stops being a tragedy and becomes simply a data point. When the Judas strikes, the warlord does not cry to the heavens. The warlord nods. Ah, the code executed exactly as designed. The pressure exceeded the structural integrity of their character. Good to know. Adjusting parameters. You must become anti-fragile to betrayal. How? By ensuring that no single person holds the keys to your entire empire. Do not build a business where one partner can drain the bank accounts. Do not build a reputation that can be destroyed by one person's secret. Do not build an emotional life that collapses if one person leaves. You must be the central pillar of your own existence. If someone leaves, the structure holds. If someone betrays you, it is a flesh wound, not a fatal blow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. Expect the betrayal. Prepare the countermeasures. When it doesn't happen, you are pleasantly surprised. When it does happen, you are already armed. Part 9. The simulations, navigating the minefield. Let us run through real-world simulations. You must know how to react in real time when the mask slips. Simulation 1. The disguised insult. You are out for drinks with your group. You are explaining a new diet you started. The friend smirks and says to the table, "Yeah, we'll see how long this one lasts. Remember the keto phase last year? You lasted what, 4 days?" The table laughs. The amateur gets embarrassed. "Hey, it was a busy week back then. This is different." You validate their frame. You look weak. The aggressor gets angry. "Shut up, at least I'm trying. Look at your gut." You create a scene. You look unstable. The warlord. You execute the dead-eye pause. You stop talking. You turn your head slowly to the friend. You look them directly in the eyes. You do not smile. You do not frown. You hold the silence for 3 full seconds. You let the laughter die. You let the awkwardness fill the room. You let the friend feel the social pressure of their own rudeness. Then, in a completely flat, monochromatic voice, you say, "That was an interesting thing to say out loud. What were you hoping to achieve with that?" You have reversed the spotlight. You have forced them to explain their malice. They will stutter. They will say, "Just joking, man." You hold the eye contact for 1 more second, nod slowly, and turn back to the group, completely ignoring them for the rest of the night. You have established absolute dominance, and you have marked them as a threat. Simulation 2. The idea thief. You share a brilliant strategic idea for a project with a coworker you considered a friend. 2 days later, in a meeting with the boss, that coworker pitches your exact idea as their own. The amateur speaks up immediately. "Hey, I told you that yesterday. That's my idea." You look petty, unprofessional, and the boss hates the drama. The warlord. You employ strategic jujitsu. You use their momentum against them. You smile, lean forward, and say to the boss, "I am so glad John brought this up. When I was briefing him on this strategy yesterday in my office, I told him the real key to execution would be the Q3 logistics pipeline. John, since you're championing the framework I gave you, walk the team through exactly how you plan to mitigate the supply chain friction I mentioned." You just slaughtered him. You reclaimed ownership of the idea smoothly. You framed him as a subordinate you were briefing, and you handed him a highly technical question he cannot answer because it wasn't his idea. You watch him drown in front of the boss. After the meeting, you never trust John with a piece of data again. Simulation 3. The ghosting savior. You get laid off. You text the friend who always bragged about their network and told you, "If you ever need anything, I've got you." You text, "Just got let go. Could use a reference for that opening at your firm." They reply 48 hours later. "Oh man, so sorry to hear that. The market is crazy right now. Wish I could help, but my boss is super strict on referrals. Good luck though." The amateur argues. "Come on, man, you said you had pull. Just put in a word." Begging. The warlord. You feel the sting of the hollow allegiance. You delete the text thread. You do not reply. You do not beg. You realize they have given you a gift. They have removed themselves from your payroll. You now know their exact market value, 0. You move forward. 2 years later, when you have built your own firm and they text you asking for an introduction, you leave them on red until the end of time. Conclusion. The fortress of one. We are terrified of being alone. This terror is what keeps us clinging to toxic relationships, smiling at passive-aggressive insults, and keeping the door unlocked for traitors. We fear the quiet of an empty room more than we fear the knife in the back. The warlord conquers this fear. The warlord realizes that it is infinitely better to stand completely alone on an empty battlefield than to stand in a crowded trench surrounded by soldiers whose guns are pointed at the back of your head. Stop tolerating the micro-betrayals. Stop forgiving the envy. Stop listening to the gossip. You are the architect of your own empire. If the bricks in your foundation are crumbling, If they are rotten, you must pull them out. Yes, the wall will look bare for a while, but a solid wall of stone is better than a painted wall of mud. Test your circle. Watch their eyes when you win. Watch their feet when you lose. When they fail the test, do not give them your anger. Give them the void. Cut the cord. Burn the bridge or build them a golden one to run away on. But get them out of your fortress. Protect your energy. Protect your secrets. Protect your mind. You are the king, and the king does not suffer traitors in the court. This is the way of the art of conquest. On this channel, we cover a range of topics, like the one in this video. If you enjoy this type of content, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, we may never see each other again. See you again soon.